Yes, indeed. We are here. It is the first day of the 2025 Stanley Cup Finals. Excuse me, final. It's finals in the NBA, final in the NHL. Nonetheless, rematch of last year looks an also awful lot like last year's final. We're here to break it down, both the series and game one for you. Talk a little Conn Smythe here on Total Hockey Now. We got my full line mates here today at Ant Rivera 86, at Fuzzy Chris 91. Ant was the one that got the matchup right here. Once we got down to the Final Four, Chris and I were on Dallas and Carolina. That did not work out too well for either of those teams. But here we are, rematch this year. A rematch we're looking forward to. I feel like everybody's excited for this. Nobody's like, oh, these two again. Like, this deserve the way last year's series went. Like, these two meeting again, pretty nice.
Yeah, that happens. That part where another rematch, that happens next year if Florida wins again. Because like if they both split it and then you have the third deciding one, that's a little bit different. But if Florida wins again and they go back to back again, then it's like enough already.
Agreed.
I mean, maybe some of the other teams could just like get good. I mean, that's
true.
You know what I mean? That's a thought. Like if you're, you know what I mean? Like we get to watch premium elite hockey. We don't have to watch. I mean, no disrespect to the Anaheim Ducks, or the Buffalo Sabres, we get to watch the best of the best. So maybe some of these other teams, if they want to take their spot. Until then, we're going to keep watching. I guess the Oilers are elite now. Like it's just, it is what it is. Trying to find ways not to, but I guess when you have the best player in the world on your team and then the second best player as well, that usually good things happen.
And when you have a goalie that nobody expected anything out of, either, pitching shutouts or going one goal or, just giving you solid efforts out of nowhere, that helps too. We're going to talk about all that here today. We're going to get through it. We'll talk about the series. Then we'll talk about, we'll talk about game one as well. I don't know. I feel like let's hop right into it. There is the updated playoff bracket there. Edmonton, only two differences this time around between these two is, Leon Draisaitl was playing healthy, unlike last year, and Edmonton's got the home ice. So if there's a game 7, it's going to be up in northern Alberta. Also, all the people up in northern Canada that are dealing with everything with the wildfires up there, we are thinking about you here. As somebody that's had to evacuate a couple of times, I know maybe people aren't thinking about the people up that far north, but it's tough times up there, so thinking about you up there in northern Alberta, northern Manitoba, northern Saskatchewan, all that area. But speaking of northern Alberta, we'll be in Edmonton tonight for game 2, for game 1, excuse me. What are we thinking here? Overall series, as we get that up on the screen, looking at the series odds right now, Edmonton -120, Florida even +100, and then 11-1 for either to sweep. And then it's about even either way there. Slight edge to Edmonton in 7. Some money has come in today on Florida to balance things out a little bit there in the game 1 odds. We'll talk about that later. But just overall series reaction there.
Listen, it's important for the Oilers to get off to a good start, right? They need to not do what they did last year, which was wait until the final minutes to be like, hey, let's turn this into a series. It is instrumental for them to come out and set the pace and dominate. Basically, you cannot give the Florida Panthers any type of hope because they will take it and they will run. They've won the Stanley Cup. They know exactly what it takes to repeat. You just got to do what you did last year and keep going with it here. So it would also help the Oilers locker room and their morale to know that they can compete, right? It's you can't keep waiting to the last minute and counting on your 2 best players to try to drag you out of this situation, right? Like Stuart Skinner's got to be ready the minute the puck hits the ice, right? Their blue line's got to be ready as well the minute the puck hits the ice, because if you give the Panthers an inch, they are going to take it.
I agree.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I totally agree that it is very important for the Oilers to get out of the gate here and at the very least, split these 2 games at home. You don't want to go down 0-2. Obviously, they showed that they can come back from 0-3 to force a game 7, but you don't want to do that. And I think that the momentum shifts heavily in their favor if they get off to a hot start here, win a game. They know that they won't have to win 4 straight in a row, that they have games to work with. It is very important because the first 2 games they were outscored 7-1 last year. So they want to keep up the pace. They want to score. They're getting Matthias Epcombe back, and he's a very important part of that defense that was already playing well throughout the Stanley Cup. So to have him back is a huge boost, and I hope that both Draisaitl and McDavid kind of take over this series as only we think they can.
So let's talk a little game 1 here. Coming into the, rest versus rust, I think both of these teams were more than happy. I know we weren't thrilled about the layoff here between the end of the conference finals and the Stanley Cup. I think both teams were very okay. Whatever bruises, tweaks, soreness, that all gets a chance to heal up and be at 100% for game 1. So I think in that regard, looking at the total, the 6.5 there. Yesterday was at plus 105, now minus 105. So money coming in on the over there. And I mean, why not? With the way Edmonton has gone in the playoffs, and Florida certainly could put the puck in the net too. And, I hate to keep going back to this, but I mean, I still don't believe Stuart Skinner is going to just play out of his mind for the rest of the playoffs. He is going to whether it's tonight or at some point in the series, he's due for a stinker. So, to me, until you see these teams, and I don't think you're going to have a feeling out period. It's not like, these teams haven't seen each other since February or whatever. They're very familiar with each other. They remember each other from last year. For the most part, these rosters are the same with some small differences. I think both teams are going to come out looking to make a statement in a game 1 here. So I could see why a lot of money going in on the over there.
I agree with that. I can understand why bettors want to take the over here. I would personally take the under. At some point Stuart Skinner is going to let in a stinker, but I don't think that comes in game 1. I think there will be, neither team is going to want to make a mistake. So I expect the repeat offenders of penalties, so the Corey Perrys of the world, the Brad Marchands, I'm going to throw Sam Bennett into there because he's done his more fair share. I expect those guys to be a little bit more, not tamed, but I don't think we're going to see a lot of after the whistle kind of stuff, because nobody wants to put their team down 1, especially if I'm the Oilers. Like, their penalty kill has been a mess. So what you don't want to do is give Florida the opportunity to burn you right off the rip. And then for Florida, it's real simple. You do not want to give McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard any type of space, right? For the Panthers, is going to try to be getting the matchup that you want, right? You obviously want Barkov out there a lot to try to deal with, McDavid and Draisaitl and whatnot. Sam Bennett can hold his own, right? So I don't think we're going to see this high-flying pace to start. I think it might be a little bit boring out of the gate as the game picks up, right? Players are going to make mistakes. Things are going to happen. But I would probably lean the under here. The under 6.5 probably where I would want to go just for this one here. And then we'll see in game 2 how that works.
We all know I've been a huge proponent of the over for every Edmonton game here, but I think I gotta agree with Chris here. I'm going to take under 6.5. I won't go under 5.5, but the under 6.5 I will take here. I think Skinner at home, juiced up for this game. I think he's going to play well, and I think Florida's going to match it as well. I think we're going to have maybe like a 3-2 type affair here in game 1, and then the goals will pick up. And that's what happened in the last time that they played in the Stanley Cup as well. 3-0, 4-1 was the first 2 games, then 4-3, 8-1, 5-3, 5-1. Then once you get to game 7, I feel like that's when you take the under again.
Yeah, game 7 is usually just you lean under just because of the nature of how everybody's going to play if it gets that far. So clearly I'm going to be the one on an island today while you two guys team up against me, because that's how it's already gone with the total for game 1. We'll see how other sides and series stuff goes. And I get everything you're saying. I think maybe the series flips the other way, where maybe at first it's going to be some high scoring and then maybe it tails off a little bit. I think one of the things that Corey Perry is going to be doing is trying to get Sergei Bobrovsky off his game. There's a reason why he's number 2 in terms of being favorites for the Conn Smythe Trophy. And when a guy like Bobo is playing like a guy, like when he's playing like that, you got to get traffic in front of him. Corey Perry certainly relishes that opportunity. Edmonton has other guys too that don't mind getting in front. Evander Kane's another one. So I think you're going to see, like Chris's point, I don't think you're going to see anything crazy dirty, but I do think you're going to see them parking themselves there and telling the Florida defense, like, hey, you're going to move us, you need to move us. And, that always goes a certain direction after a certain point.
You can, but even at that, like sure. But if Corey Perry is not in your grill per se, and maybe they'll let him kind of hang out there a little bit longer than they want him to. The number one focus for the Florida Panthers is not what Corey Perry's doing. It's what McDavid and Draisaitl and the gang are doing. So, like, Bob's got to work through it, kind of thing, right? There's going to be traffic. That should be Edmonton's main objective, is to try to get traffic in front of Bobrovsky, because if he can see it, he's going to stop it. But again, it's making sure that the best players on the other side don't beat you. If Corey Perry beats you, so he beats you. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how it goes. But you cannot let McDavid and Draisaitl, especially at home here, so they got the last change. I'm sure at different opportunities, Knoblauch's going to try to get his 2 best players on the ice. So you have to limit the amount of chances you give the Edmonton Oilers. And if you keep with it, at some point you're going to get your opportunities against Stuart Skinner. They will come. I don't believe he is as elite as he was last series. I think there are holes in his game. I think the Edmonton defense also has holes in their games. The more you can exploit Evan Bouchard defensively and just exploit Darnell Nurse in general, they'll get their chances. But again, I don't know how effective guys like Perry and I'll, same thing with Evander Kane, and Sam Bennett brings a different type of finish to his game, right? So I don't know how effective those players will be for at least game 1. We'll see how they build off it, but I'm not too worried about them.
One thing you mentioned was the awful Edmonton penalty kill. Obviously the simple answer is staying out of the box, but I mean, maybe that's a way. If Stuart Skinner does start to reveal himself for what he has been in the past, that is where I could see the avalanche starting to happen. Is okay, you get a couple of power play goals, and then all of a sudden wheels come off, or penalty, give up a couple of goals on the power play. Speaking of Edmonton there, so I'm on the over for tonight. You guys are on the under 6.5. I'm on the over 6.5. Terms of a game 1 side here, like we said, rust is not going to be an issue here for either team. Who's going to set the first salvo here? Because there's a lot of buzz on Edmonton. Some money came in today on Florida for sure, but for the last week, it's been a lot of talk about Edmonton, and not to say that Florida's gotten overlooked, but especially considering they're defending champs, 3rd trip in a row to the finals. But there is a lot of love for the Edmonton Oilers right now.
Well, it's Edmonton speed, right? And finesse versus the power of the Panthers, and them throwing you around. So I would assume that the Oilers would come out here and try to set the momentum, try to set the pace. It helps out Stuart Skinner as well. If they can gain a little bit of momentum and get some goals there, the crowd's going to be going crazy for this. So I feel like the Oilers need to be the team that not only sets the pace, for this game 1, but the series in its entirety. If they are going to really, and I've seen a lot of people have taken the Oilers now. There's the history of teams playing against each other where one team wins the first year, the other team wins the second year. There's that in the history of hockey as well. So look, Oilers, if they can score first and get on the board here, it helps them. And even if they're down, they have been a team this playoffs that have not been taken too lightly for being down a couple of goals. They've come back from some deficits here. So let them get on the board first, and I'm pretty sure Florida will match the same energy.
Yeah, I mean, if you trust the Oilers to get business done tonight, then I would take them to cover the puck line, right? If this game is close in any way, or even if it's not, even if you're trailing by 2 goals, like whether you lose 4-1 or 5-1, like it makes no difference. You know what I mean? Like we're at the point here where you're not worrying about goals for, goals against. You're trying to find a way to keep yourself relevant here. So I think a lot of these puck lines are going to be very, very interesting. Depending on who you think wins, right? If you trust the Florida Panthers and you're backing the money that's coming in there, taking their all puck line just makes sense as well. This one is important for Edmonton because you just want to get out of the gate, man. You want to believe that you can play with this team because let's say they lose and let's say it's not close, right? I don't know, 5-0 or something like that, right? Because we got to make sure we hit the under. If they come out and they don't compete, then you're like, oh man, here we go again. Right, kind of thing. Like, yes, you can come back, but starting behind the 8 ball is certainly a choice. If I'm Florida as well, I do not like. I don't want to come out here and it's one thing to say, but I don't want to come out here and embarrass the Oilers because last thing I want to do is give Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl any kind of juice. Right, when those two decide they're going to do something, they're going to do it. There is no stopping them, and we saw it last year. They almost pulled off the impossible, right? Everybody thought they were done. And then, McDavid said, hold on, we're not. And they came out and they made this a series. So I don't want to give them any type of opportunity. I don't want to rub them the wrong way. Get them frustrated, yeah, but get them frustrated by taking away their speed, taking away their time. Let somebody else around them hurt them. But last thing I want to do is kind of get choppy with them, kind of rub them the wrong way. Because if McDavid decides the series is his, well, then I don't care who you are on the planet. You're not slowing them down.
You can almost sometimes see like McDavid and Draisaitl give each other a look when like things are starting to get a little too tough for the Oilers, where it's like, all right, well, here we go to 6th gear. 5th gear is not good enough. We got to go kick it up to 6th. Yeah, so I agree. Not to say you don't want to, but you want to win the game by as big as margin as possible. But I see what you're saying there. I don't think the wind would be totally out of their sails if they lose game 1. But yeah, you lose both games at home if you're Edmonton. And you don't want to say the series is over, but man, the series is not looking great at that point. Edmonton's 6-1 at home in the playoffs. Panthers are 8-2 on the road, so something's got to give there. I've told you guys before the show, I've been sneezing a lot for the past 12. I don't know what's going on, but that one snuck up on me. Nonetheless,
you're allergic to the Oilers. I get it.
Here's the way I'm playing game 1. I'm going to bet Edmonton to win game 1, but Florida to win the series at plus 180. That is the way I'm going here because I think for all the reasons you stated, getting out to a big start, there's a lot of reasons why Edmonton should win this game tonight. And Florida's not going to panic if they lose. They know that. They've been down this path before. They know how things go. It's more important for Edmonton to get that win. I do think, and tipping my hand a little bit, Florida's going to win the series. So that's the way I'm looking at tonight, the over, and then, Florida to win, Edmonton to win game 1, but Florida to win the series.
Yeah, look, the Florida Panthers are just one of the most complete hockey teams on the face of the earth, and their 8-2 record definitely demonstrates that. What they did against the Toronto Maple Leafs, they just, part of it is the Leafs being bad, but the other part is the Florida Panthers being that good. Everything they did to the Carolina Hurricanes, right? They walked into Raleigh and just did a little bit of what they wanted to. That team didn't have enough gas or enough push in their tank to be able to get past, Florida's top defense. So, if I'm the Oilers, yes, I know I have success on home ice. I have to do everything I can to make sure I win. I got to secure the wins on home ice and then go out on the road and just kind of deal with it. Edmonton doesn't have to win a game on the road in this series. They have home ice advantage. So, even if you go into Florida games 3 and 4, don't win, it's not the end of the world. Then it just becomes a best of 3, take care of business on home ice, which they've been able to do. But if I'm the Panthers, I have to win on the road at some point. So why not steal home ice advantage right off the rip? Do it in game 1. You can do it in game 2 as well. Be absolutely fine going home with a split. I think that's a win for them as well. But if I'm the Oilers, I need this one. This one is critical.
The Oilers have allowed 14 goals in their 3 game 1s this postseason and have gone 1-2 out of the gate. The Panthers have scored 15 in their 3 game 1s. So trend's saying to do the opposite of what I'm saying there. And also teams that win game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals have gone on to win 76.5% of the time, including in each of the past 4 years. The percentage goes up to almost 84% when the home team wins game 1. So listen, it's a long series, but there is some importance to having that 1-0 lead out of the gate there. So there we go. You got your picks for game one here. Now looking at the series here, as we switch gears here, we got game one tonight, game two Friday night, game three Monday night, game four Thursday the 12th, game five Saturday the 14th, because Hockey Night in Canada has to have an outside chance of awarding a cup on Canadian soil if Edmonton has a 3-1 lead going into that game. And then Tuesday and then Friday, June 20th, if it goes 7. I'm going to have a problem that night because I have Metallica tickets in Santa Clara at Levi's Stadium. I don't mind missing the openers that night. I just worry that I'll have a reliable signal to be able to stream the game on my phone. That is where I worry. And if it goes overtime, now I might be bleeding into Metallica's set time, and that could be a problem for me if we go 7.
It sounds like you made a poor choice to go to a concert during the Stanley Cup Finals, but
I mean, what am I supposed to do?
Didn't you do this last year too?
Yeah. Aren't you a repeat offender of this?
Was it Metallica in the Stanley Cup last year? I don't think it was Metallica. It might have been somebody else. Let me
But you did go away at this time of the year.
Yeah, I feel deja vu.
Yeah,
happening right. And you said the same exact thing.
Yeah, you're a repeat offender. You're Tom Wilson here. Like no pity for me. Like this, you did this to yourself.
Let's go back to last year. What was I doing? Let's see if my calendar's even updated enough because I'm not great with that. I don't got nothing on the calendar from last year. I probably was away doing something. Yeah, where is it? It's good.
You'll have to get back to us. But I'm with Ann here. I feel like you have done this as well. Regardless of that, though, the NHL having a game on a Friday and then a game on a Monday, just peak NHL scheduling here. Just a whole weekend of just no hockey. Why not, right? A Monday is a great time to host a game. And then they wait until Thursday. Like this is dragging out. I'm a degenerate, so I will watch hockey as much as there is. I could care less. But if this goes 7, we're handing out the Stanley Cup on I wouldn't even say mid-June, right? This is end June, right? That's where we are here. There's no reason for this to be taking this long. Just first of all, you should have started on Thursday and then have a game Saturday, right? And then if you want Sunday, Monday, whatever, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, you know what I mean? Let's go here.
The fact that Friday is your worst night for TV, especially in the summer, and you've got 2 games. One of them could be, a game 7 in Edmonton on a Friday night. Yeah, you can't have that.
There's too many games on a Friday, man. It's not it. Monday games, same thing. There's no reason for this. Why do we have a massive gap between game 2 and 3, and then the same thing between game 3, 4?
I don't even mind the Monday game. It's just that people are well, what's the difference between Friday and Saturday night? The difference is when you have a game on a Saturday night, people still have all day to do what they got to do and then can come home and watch the game at night. A lot of people on a Friday, you're working all day and then you have date night. You have to do this. You have to do that. It's not as easy to plan a Friday night viewing as it is to plan a Saturday appointment viewing for a sporting event or something like that. So when does UFC have their big events? Friday night or Saturday night? That's right, Saturday night. There's a reason for that. So yeah, I mean the scheduling not ideal, and I understand they have to work around the NBA Finals too because maybe I know OKC is popular and it's a good matchup, but Indianapolis and Oklahoma City are not 2 huge ratings markets. So I mean, but the NBA is still more of a ratings draw than the Stanley Cup at this point, so you have to work around that to a degree and not try and overlap. But yeah, there's too much gaps a couple of times here, but. And then again, because Hockey Night in Canada's got to get a Saturday game. So it's just, it's not ideal. But either way, there's the schedule for that. Now, in terms of looking at who we're picking in the series and for how many games, let's start with Ant here. So you got the under tonight. You said you like Florida tonight. What are we talking about for the series here?
I had Edmonton in 7.
Okay. So Florida gets out of the gate, but Edmonton finds a way to rally again.
Well, I don't think I picked. I picked Florida
earlier. I'm sorry. Okay.
I just said that it would be important for Edmonton to get out to the hot start, and if it splits, it splits. But I've been on Edmonton in 7. Since this was announced. But I do feel that this is going to be more of a traditional type of series. It's not going to be 3-0 and then, they tie the series 3 and then we have the games. I think it's going to be more split down the line on this one.
I don't think it's going to 7, man. Neither of these teams have made it to 7. So I think that's wishful thinking on both sides, regardless of what it is. I think it finishes in 6, which is probably why the money is not great on either side if you do go into 6. 5 just kind of seems like a stretch here. I don't think we see a sweep. 5 just doesn't seem likely here. I don't think. I think these teams are too good to do that. 6 kind of feels like the sweet spot. I'm still undecided a little bit as to who is going to win this series. It's really going to have to play out in itself. I will say it, the Florida Panthers are the deepest team that we've seen in a very long time. This is a complete hockey team. They do not have a lot of holes in their lineup. You have to dig and try to find one. So that is hard. On the flip side, though, I feel like you are going to have to kill McDavid to take that trophy away from him, right? Like, he still won the Conn Smythe in a losing effort. The numbers may not be there this year, but you're going to have to pry that out of his cold, dead hands. I feel like he's not going to let it drop twice, right? Like, he is the only player who can just turn on the Jets at any given moment, do whatever he wants to do, and he's going to do it. So I don't know how you take it away from him 2 years in a row. I don't know how he recovers mentally from this either. But I mean, again, you're betting against the Stanley Cup champions, right, who have gone to the finals 3 years in a row. And then you're betting that Connor McDavid does exactly what he wants to do. So kind of a coin flip for me at this point. It depends how this series is going to go. But you asked which one, today. So today I'm taking the team that has proven that they can do it. So to me, it's Florida in 6.
Florida in 6 at plus 450. Now, if you think it's Vegas is for just a series total games, both 6 games and 7 games are plus 200. So you can, hedge play both of those. I tend to agree. I think like I said, my bet for tonight was Edmonton to win game 1, but Florida to win the series. Like you said, neither series nobody's gotten the 7 yet. And I think a team like Florida, the last thing they want to do is get on them. If they got a chance to clinch at home up 3-2, the last thing they want to do is make that flight from South Florida all the way back to Edmonton for what'll be a frenzy for a team that just stole a game on the road. They have too much experience. They got too much there. And I understand you're going to have to, will this cup away from McDavid out of his dead hands. And, a big difference between this year and last year is a healthy Leon Draisaitl, which was not the case last year. He was out there pretty much as a decoy, but everybody knew he was a decoy. So you're not really a decoy at that point. Edmonton has so much going for them, and I want to pick them. It's a good story. McDavid deserves a cup. Draisaitl deserves a cup. The country of Canada deserves a cup. The Oilers, but it's just, again, like, find the flaw in the Florida Panthers. Like, find the area to exploit that they can't. Like, even the Oilers, as good as they are, we know their penalty kill is bad. So if they end up in the box, Florida's going to hurt them. So, like, Florida doesn't have that weakness where, unless Bobrovsky just absolutely starts pooping his pads, for lack of a better term, they're not gonna go to Vitek Vanacek to try and reset it. It's Bobrovsky, or if he gets hurt, then it's Vanacek. But that's the only way. If Bobrovsky all of a sudden starts playing bad, that's the only way I can really see Florida losing this series here. So I got Florida in 6. I like that. I don't think we're going to see 7. Part of that wishful thinking.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at that point. You have to find ways to beat Florida. You got to get creative. You got to find the weak spot. Maybe it's just, traditional hockey, getting pucks deep, laying on the body and making it tough for them, making, as the series wears on, the wear and tear on bodies is going to feel more. But sometimes it's just sticking to the basics of what you need to do. You need to get pucks deep. You need to find ways to generate offense and get in front of a goalie's eyes, man. Look them in, get in front of them. These goalies are so good.
I mean, I'm willing to go as far as saying Florida is so deep that they could lose one of their top tier players. And not to say they wouldn't miss a beat, but I think they need to lose 2 of their key players before they start to really feel it. Like, even if they lost Barkov, which would be terrible, they'd be okay without him. It would not be ideal. It opens up the door for Edmonton, but Florida is just that deep. Like, there's no AJ Greer tonight. And yeah, he's been playing well in that 4th line role, but They've got guys that can. So like it's a next man up mentality in Florida, and how their guys handle it.
That's a little far for me there. I mean, Barkov's about to win the Selke, but
I mean, what I'm saying is like they're that deep.
They wouldn't be as devastated. Let's say it.
Yeah, like the Panthers losing their top player is not as devastating as Edmonton losing their top player.
Oh, Edmonton would get cooked if McDavid, for whatever reason, knock on wood, can't play one game. They would get absolutely run out of a building.
And that's not a knock on Draisaitl, because McDavid with a hurt Draisaitl still dragged the Oilers to 7 games. But it's a little different.
Yeah, you still need them there. Then it's because you can just focus in on one guy and just remove him, right? Team effort, make it super tough for their best players to execute. Time and space.
Don't put NHL Network on right now, Chris. They're showing highlights of the 2014 Eastern Conference Finals, so don't throw that on right.
Damn, that's unfortunate.
Well, because Lundqvist is talking about, I guess, going to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they're showing highlights of that. But yeah, that might be a painful one for you. I was in the building for Game 6. That was lovely.
I was at home. It was just not a very good time. It's not. That's where my hate for Chris Kreider officially blossomed. I don't hate a lot of people, but like Chris Kreider is one of those. Like I wouldn't be rude to him if I saw him in person, but I would just look at him and I'd be like, I know, like I know that as well, kind of thing. There's only a couple of people I really like dislike to that point. Like same thing with Gary Bettman. Like I wouldn't tell him I hate him, but I'd look at him and be like, hey Gary, how about we schedule, a better schedule? You know what I mean? Not a 13 game, Tuesday slate and then a 2-game Wednesday slate. I don't know, spread them out a little bit here.
And also the half-hour thing is big too. Like
half-hour, Gary. Let's figure it out, right? And then the non-hockey one, Jeffrey Loria. I would throat punch him though. I'm not gonna lie. I'd go to a holding cell at least to throat punch Jeffrey Loria. Like I wouldn't throat punch Gary, but Jeffrey Loria knows why he would get throat punched.
Well, we'll have to dive into that into a summer episode here when we got a little more time to dive into Chris's psyche, why he wants to assault professional sports owners. But nonetheless,
before we go forward, speaking about the Rangers, are you a little bothered the fact that Chris Knobloch has now been to back-to-back Stanley Cups here, and the Rangers just let this guy go?
Listen, yes, it's one of those things where, it could absolutely, I can let it absolutely bother me. But I mean, at the time, were you going to get rid of Laviolette? No, it wasn't like you were letting him to go to the Devils or the Penguins. Like he's going out to Edmonton to coach a guy that he coached, earlier in McDavid's career. So it was like, all right, like he's gonna go. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, it was one of those, like, like at that point, like if the Rangers go and do that, like you're basically giving up on that season. Now we didn't know he was gonna go and turn around and be a coach of the year candidate with what he did in Edmonton, but. I mean, the track record was there in Hartford, but I don't think anybody thought it was going to go this well, this quickly, I would say.
The Rangers fans would have hated the move.
Yeah, that's the thing. Ranger fans love to say that, but hindsight's 20/20. Like at the time, you would have killed them for the move. Like, oh, we're just giving up and giving this guy why? Because he coached McDavid, blah blah blah. Like that's what the rhetoric would have been. And who knows how? And then you have people be like, oh, but maybe they would have gone all the way with him. I don't know. New York, as crazy as a hockey market is as Edmonton, I feel like it's a friendly hockey market where like New York can be a friendly hockey market, but it can also be a not so friendly hockey, as we saw this year in the month of December and January. Edmonton is not Toronto in that regard. Like McDavid and Draisaitl can probably still live their lives to a certain extent. So
you think they can live their life? I know it's Edmonton, but
I think that people like, it's almost like, it's not going to be like that picture at the airport from early in McDavid's career where he just looked so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like as a young kid that just probably was still learning how to handle that kind of attention everywhere you go. There's literally no like, all right, I'm here, I can probably be safe. No, you're not safe anywhere when you're that magnitude. But as you get older, you learn how to deal with that. I almost think people like if they see him in public, it's almost more like a respectful thing. Like, but they're not going to like run over and be like, oh my God, pick him. Like they've achieved that level.
That's fair.
That's fair.
That makes sense. Right.
All
I'm saying, I'm going to take absolutely nothing away from Chris Knobloch, right? But he's also coaching 2 of the best players in the world. So
that's another thing too.
Yeah. Again, not to take anything away because, others have coached McDavid and they haven't won either. But I feel like if you coach those two and you have like borderline success, like maybe look inward, like maybe you're not, you're not that guy, right? Like if you play next to McDavid and Draisaitl and you don't put up numbers, like maybe you're the problem. I don't know. Just dig deep. But yeah, Chris Knoblauch has been a positive, like, addition. Like Jay Woodcroft was good. I just think they just needed a change at that point, fired him and whatnot. But like,
and that's the thing too. Sometimes
he would not have won if he was with the Rangers. Like, I'm sorry, like the Rangers don't have a single one of McDavid's, and you can't really recreate them in a lab.
I think we do have to remember too, like even though they have the two best players in all of hockey, nobody expected them to get out of even the first round against the Kings, even with those two players.
Well, I mean, that was probably their, like, after game 2, the way game 3 started too. I mean, that was their gut check moment. That was the McDavid look down the bench at Draisaitl, like, what are we doing here? Like, is this really what's going to happen? We're going to, like this, we're going to go from almost pulling off one of the best comebacks in sports history to losing to the Kings in the first round. I don't care how good they were at home this season. And think about it. They haven't really slowed down since. Yes, the Vegas series went 5. That could have been a sweep if the, one goal doesn't get scored with like what 1.5 seconds or whatever it was, 0.7. So that goes. So that could be a sweep. And Dallas, which yes, if you want to help cut Dallas some slack, it's not easy to play Colorado in 7 games and then Winnipeg in the second round and then have to deal with the 2 best players on the planet if you want to cut them some slack. But Edmonton was the better team in that series. There was no doubt about it. Dallas played well in game 1, and then poof, gone. That was it. Edmonton. So, yeah, and we're saying all this positivity about Edmonton. Meanwhile, 1, and then the guy all the way down onto my right has picked Florida in 6. So,
Florida has a Stanley Cup. They have a ring on their finger. Like each the guys in that room can point at one, right? We don't put up banners that say "lost in the Stanley Cup Final," right? We don't put those banners up. We only put the banners up. Or at least respectable franchises put the banners up when they win Stanley Cups. I know some of those teams out here putting up Eastern Conference champions and yada, yada. Like, that's great when you're not used to winning. Like, the Bell Center only has, banners of Stanley Cups because that's what we celebrate. Right?
Oh, you also had a dynasty, 3 times in your franchise's history at various points?
Listen, I feel like the whole state of Florida has had a dynasty, and that annoys me. But
I don't mind the conference champion banners because, okay, that does take something to get to the finals. I don't like division banners. I think actually what the Hurricanes do is perfect. They have one banner for the division championships, and you just add a year to it when it happens. That's all a division championship should be. It's nice. It says something to lead your, division after 82 hockey games. It don't mean a damn bit of thing. It don't mean anything. So there we go. Ant's got Edmonton in 7. Both of us got Florida in 6. There's your series picks. Let's talk a little Conn Smythe. Last time we really talk about Conn Smythe here because, by the time we come back with you next week, there's not going to be really anything worth left betting here. And you see all the names there. Really nobody on the right side, maybe besides a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins if he all of a sudden went off. But even then, I'm not crazy about that. Looking at the left, obviously it's tough to go against the McDavid. The guy won it last year in a losing effort. But if you were looking for, I think in terms of somebody, I think Draisaitl at plus 750. That's the one guy on Edmonton that could wrestle it away from them. Like even Stuart Skinner at 50-1. Like, okay, fine. He would have to pitch a shutout in 3 out of their 4 victories to really wrestle that away from one of those 2.
Yeah, I can't believe a week has passed and McDavid continued, not his odds improved. That homie literally just exists. He breathes in air, and they're like, yeah, that's good enough. Bring it. He's got an absolute chance. I do think that I agree with you with the Draisaitl take. I think if anybody can take it away from him, it's going to be Leon. He the rest of it. I don't think any other Edmonton or other player is gonna get it or even flirt with the consideration of it. You can say that for Florida, there are lots of people that are going to go. It can split the vote, and that I understand it. So, and it's always easy to just give it to the goalie if you want to do it that way. I think Alexander Barkov has a legitimate chance of winning it, depending on what he can do in the series. He's not the guy who's going to go out there and put a whole bunch of points, but he needs to be good. And there was a time in life where, Sergei Bobrovsky started the playoffs, wasn't really that great. He's kind of like, kind of mediocre, just kind of sitting around there. But Alexander Barkov is consistently consistent and good. If I'm going to take a long shot, it's going to be Sam Bennett. That's the only long shot I'm really taking here. It's, Sam Bennett or bust after that. I don't think Sam Reinhart has a chance. Brad Marchand, like you said, everybody else on the right side doesn't really do it.
I would make an argument that Reinhardt could have a chance if he starts putting the puck in the net. Okay, Barkov would probably be the guy feeding him a lot of those pucks, but goals carry more weight than points. I think when you're trying to decide the Conn Smythe, because it is being voted on by humans, it's not like an Art Ross trophy where it's the straight statistics. I could see Reinhardt as if you really wanted to play a long shot. I don't think Marchand has a chance. He's there, he's contributing, but he's not a Conn Smythe guy. So I think Reinhardt's the longest of the shots that you can consider there. I know Carter Verhaeghe has a reputation for coming up big with goals. I don't think that's really enough considering the class of people around him to make the difference there. So yeah, I mean, looking at that, for me, if I think we all agree McDavid's the pick, but if we're in a world where we're going to try and pick the second best option, it would be, for Edmonton, for me, it would be Draisaitl. Like I said, I know it's borderline chalk, but I think if Florida wins, Bobrovsky's going to get heavy consideration that he kept McDavid and Draisaitl at bay.
It makes sense to me. There's only a couple of guys who can get it here, and for Florida, it's splitting the vote too many ways after that point. For the guys who are further back, it's just kind of like, yes, but all these other guys, contribute to what it is. Like you said for Reinhart, right? Yes, if he's popping goals, Barkov's giving it to him, so they kind of cancel each other out. And for Edmonton, like, it's McDavid or Draisaitl. There's nobody else that's been consistent enough to even have that conversation.
All right, so there we go. We got a little Conn Smythe conversation there. Before we wrap, I wanted to do something a little fun here. I wrote down 5 props for the series that we're gonna, we won't call it. We'll call it shoot, pass, or dump. FMK is the acronym that usually you play this game, but we'll call it shoot, pass, or dump. So 5 props I've randomly picked here that I thought were maybe intriguing. Let's see what you guys think of them. First one up. Stanley Cup final prop. Sam Reinhart to lead the series in shots on goal plus 950. What do we think? Shoot, pass, or dump?
That's a dump.
It's a dump? Okay.
No way.
Like, it's easy to take a McDavid or a Draisaitl for the shots on goal. Trying to go a little off the grid here.
Dump.
No, that's a dump. It's
All
not,
right.
I don't even think he's going to be top 5.
Okay, fine. So we're you guys ganging up on me. That's how it's gonna go today, and I understand. That's how it goes here.
It happens, man.
Somebody else's week. All right, this one I think maybe you guys will like better. I think this is the one that maybe you will shoot on here. Leon Draisaitl to lead the series in goals plus 275. How do we feel about that one?
Well, what was it? It was shoot, pass, or dump, right?
Yeah. So like shoot, you love it. Pass, you're leaning on it. Dump, not a chance.
I'd shoot on this one.
Okay.
Pass. To lead the lad. I mean, he could. He definitely could. But Leon Draisaitl is also an excellent passer. Excellent. It's underrated a little bit. I know he can score from his office there, but he is a really good passer, and that may free up space for other ones. Also, I mean, if in my mind, if Florida wins this series, technically they scored more goals. So, and then I can see other guys on that side. Again, maybe the goals get diluted a little bit because there's so many players who can, but it wouldn't shock me to see someone like Evan Rodriguez or somebody lead or Carter Verhaeghe lead in goals at the end of the Stanley Cup final round. Like it wouldn't shock me. You know what I mean? That's why I would pass. It's still good though, because Leon's good at that. So I feel like that's fair.
Well, the team leaders in goals for both Sam Bennett has 10 throughout the entire playoffs. Draisaitl has 7.
That's the thing. Like, I know McDavid, if we're talking points, McDavid's the guy, but goals, I think, that's a guy. Because don't forget, last year he wasn't able to do anything. I think he's going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder to be like, all right, The last year may have been my first Stanley Cup, but this is really my first Stanley Cup. This is the first time I can actually show off what I can do on the biggest stage.
I say that as somebody, like, if you know, Canadians, right? In the Tim Hortons app there where you could pick the 3 players to score, I have Draisaitl tonight. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, he can do it. I just don't know if he's going to lead the series in it, though.
Wish I had the Tim Hortons app and the Tim Hortons. And I'm not close enough to the border to have a Tim Hortons here on the West Coast. All right, a couple more props to go here. Gustav Forsling to score a goal at any time in the series, plus 205. I really like this one because I can just see, like, Florida's maintaining the zone, pucks move cycling around, gets on Forsling's stick. He's got a clear look at the net, some traffic there, like we talked about. You know, I'm sure the Panthers are going to want to get in Skinner's face, like, hey, is this guy really good? Let's get our guys in front. I think, to me, this is like not to say a guarantee, but I like this one a lot.
Does he have a goal in the playoffs?
See, I just think
I'm
he's a top pairing defenseman that plays on the top power play unit. I think at some point, defense. That's how
he's still going to skate on the top unit.
He has 1 goal.
He has 1 goal. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, he can't have that many.
That's why it's plus 205. Otherwise, we're not saying Evander Kane to score a goal in the series or Leon Draisaitl.
He's got 1 goal on 23 shots. Not bad. 22 minutes of ice time. Man, I for some reason I thought Seth Jones was quarterback in that top unit, but if it's Gustav Forsling for 205, I would shoot that. A goal at any, like, he's quarterbacking the top unit on against a team's penalty kill that is sub 70. Like, listen, it's not an impossible task. I feel like this one's more likely than Draisaitl leading the entire finals in goal.
All right. So so we're in simpatico on this. Well, 2 more to go. Corey Perry to record a shot on goal in all games of the series, plus 120. His presence on the power play makes this a little more palatable.
Yeah, I know he's not going to play a single game in the final, but that's a Zach Hyman goal right there. Like, it's a gimme. It's right off the shin, off the skate, off the blade, whatever, off his face. Like you said, Corey Perry just being on the top power play unit. I can't imagine anybody's going to take his spot as well on the top line with McDavid. And considering how well McDavid moves the puck, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins just refuses to shoot the puck. I don't think he will ever shoot the puck. He could probably be on a breakaway and pass the puck. So just like 1 shot, it's not an impossible task. And at 120, listen, plus money.
He's got to do it in every game. So whether it's a sweep or 7 games, he's just got to get 1 in each of them. I don't think that's crazy. And by the way, Forsling not on the power play, so that hurts that prop a little bit more. I still like it though.
Have it, go with it. You know what I mean? I might track the Corey Perry one, see if that would have hit.
Perry has shot on goal in the last 4 games. 1, 3, and then 2.
All he's got to do is just get 1.
Yeah, he only needs 1.
Just got to get 1. Now, the last one I'm going to throw out there, and I know I had Draisaitl to lead the series in goals, but I do think we're going to get a McDavid on his back kind of game at some point. Connor McDavid to score a hat trick 10-1 at some point in the series. What do we think?
Damn, 10-1 though. It's pretty tantalizing.
For a guy to get a hat trick at any point, and what we're saying is either going to be a 6 or a 7 game series. It's tough. I know. Listen, it's you got to go against Bobrovsky and the Panthers.
That's the problem. It's against this Panthers team. Like, if it was Carolina, I'd probably say shoot on that. But this Florida, you have convinced all about how powerful this Florida team is and how good of an all-around team is. I can't see him getting I can't see the hat trick. Maybe 2 goals, but I don't know about 3, unless there's one of those, empty netters. And then,
that's how I think he would have to get it home at that point. If he's that close to getting it, then I would think Florida's trailing if he's got 2 goals. So that's where I think that comes into play a little.
I'm gonna lean pass here. It's not a complete dump because it's like at one point I'm gonna learn to stop betting against Connor McDavid. So that day is not today, but one day I'll learn it. If anybody's capable, it's him. He only has 6 goals here, which is not much, but he leads the playoffs in points, right? His shot total is sitting at 59, which is it's pretty good. It's not terrible, but he's shooting 10%, which is ironically, I think, is below his career mark as well. So if I'm looking at his career mark at that point, during the regular season, but still in the regular season, he is shooting 15%, right? Overall, if I go to the playoffs, he's shooting 13. Well, 13.9. Let's round it up. 14. Why not? So there might be some positive regression coming his way, but even in the last playoff series, right? In the last playoffs, he only scored 8. Right? It was just that he was such a facilitator of the puck, and that remains true. He's also not on pace to finish with as many shots as he did last year, which was 75. But the Oilers also, let's say they go 7 games, that'll bring them to 23 games, which is too short of what the Edmonton played last year. All this to say, if anybody can do it, it's him.
Yeah.
But it's just a lean. I'm not confident enough with his 6 goals up till now. And because I think he can facilitate the puck, all his goals as well have come at even strength, which makes sense. On the power play, he's got so many weapons, and he is the distributor. He's the guy coming down on each one of the flanks, trying to look for who's got to give it one way, who's got to go the other way. He's the facilitator on the power play. So I don't expect him to get – I won't even take him to score a goal on any of the power plays in this series.
Wow.
Just because he's so good of a passer and there's so many other options. So
And that's why I think he would be more likely to have 3 assists in a game than to have the
3
goals.
assists he can do. 3 assists, we put the mortgage. Like it's coming at some point. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. But I would even take him to be part over or under 50% of his points contributing to the number of goals that his team scored. You know what I mean? How often is he involved in something like that? It's coming off of his stick at some point. But
he had 3 assists in the first game against Los Angeles in game 1, but had 5 games. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games where he had 2 assists. So I see that being more of a thing than the 3 goals. But like you said, if there's anyone that can do it, it's Connor McDavid.
Listen, at 10-1, I'll pass it.
I think we're going to have, regardless of how the series goes, I think there's going to be a game in this series that we'll refer to one day as the Connor McDavid game. That's why I think I think at some point we're going to get that series here, because it's going to take, sometimes we say okay, for this team to win a series, this goalie is going to have to at least steal a game or 2. Well, I think because this series is so close and because there's just so much respect for for the Florida Panthers, they've been here before and they know how to win and all that. And there's no holes to poke in them. They're let's say flawless, but it's really tough to find a weakness with them. I think for Edmonton to win this series, if they're going to do it, McDavid absolutely has to have a game where he has a hat trick like that. So
Destiny, man. Destiny, from him crying at the end of game 7 to then coming into this season, them having a good season, winning the 4 nations the way he did. I mean, he is on a super high this season. I think he is all business and is ready, and that's why I got Edmonton at 7.
Now, let's not forget the "it's not good enough" rant in the locker room that was captured on video. Cannot forget that. That is if the Oilers do go on to win the cup, that was the turning point right there. It started last season. It took a little while, but that was the turning point. So
that's a clip that we are going to hear at every Stanley Cup package. Every time the Stanley Cup begins, we're going to hear that at the part of how we hear the the Kurt Russell thing from Miracle. That's going to be put in there as well.
Better believe it for Edmonton. Now we're going to close on this last one. Our buddy Marek, who's a loyal watcher of Total Hockey Now. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter and YouTube at Total Hockey Now. If it's not Edmonton's to win the cup, what Canadian team would win the cup? So let's take this into next season. And it's tough to there's free agency, there's a draft. So it's tough to, who knows what Toronto's going to look like here in the coming months. The easy answer, I think, would be Winnipeg because they're the closest. But I'm going to steal a little bit of Chris's thunder here. If I had to pick a team, it would be the Canadiens, I think. And I'm not saying it's going to happen next year if the Oilers don't win it this year, but I think they're on the right trajectory. And there's just different vibes there than there are in Toronto. Okay, so if I had to pick the next Canadian team, if it's not the Oilers, I would put my money on the Canadiens.
Yeah, I mean, look, Toronto still has so many demons they have to pass in just getting to the Eastern Conference, final. And then you have Winnipeg, who, for an entire season, you think that they can win the Stanley Cup, and then, Connor Hellebuck turns into a pumpkin when it comes to the playoffs. So, yeah, I'm going to boost my guy up here, Chris. I'm even wearing the shirt today.
There you go.
Look at that. Montreal.
There we go.
They got home cooking brewing with this team. They got Demidov ready to take off. They'll win it.
Perfect. I can't be I can't wait for the comments later. Can't be I'm a homer because obviously I've recruited temporary bandwagon fans while your respective teams are out. But yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Like the Ottawa Senators are not it, right? The Calgary Flames are not it. The Vancouver Canucks are most certainly not it. Edmonton is here, right? So they're cooking. The same thing for the Jets. I know the Jets get, they were so close, man. They were in a game 7, they were right there. They were right there, and they just couldn't get it done, right? But to me, I think Montreal's about 2 years out here, right? Not next season, right? The one after that. Now we're going to start to push. Now we really, right? There's a couple things that you get sorted out here in the summer, but like we're there. We're getting there. We're close. And I think I forgot the Leafs, but like, why would we even care?
I mean, the Leafs, it's tough to speculate on them until we know what's, even if we'll assume Marner's gone. Like, okay, how are they going to use that money? How are they filling voids? Where are they? So Toronto's probably the toughest one there because yes, out of all the teams that, they've taken the Florida Panthers, they've given them the toughest test out of, any team in the playoffs. They took them to 7 games. So, but we'll see what they look like next year. But this was a fun one today. Now, we got you set for game 1 and the series. We're back with you next week. Probably Thursday. Thursday sound good? Back to our normal day next week?
Yes.
Coming out of game, 4.
I can't believe that this slipped between 3 and 4. I really can't.
Yeah, it's the scheduling.
They're in Florida, for goodness sakes.
They scheduled this like an NBA Finals is what they did. There was something they took out of their book that was no bueno. But we'll be with you after game 4 to handicap the rest of the series. But for at Fuzzy Chris 91 and at Ant Rivera 86, I am at Pucking Thoughts. Back with you next week with an all new episode of Total Hockey Now, the last probably in season episode of Total Hockey Now, where we fully go to Maki season on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel.